Hello ladies and gentlemen. So today I'm going to start working on this fuel system. I've got all the parts in. The first thing I'm going to do is prepare my hose ends. So what I've went with are size 6 AN fittings, and the hoses I'm going to replace with steel braided fuel line hose, so it should last a very long time. So the first thing that you do is make sure that you've got a very good clean cut on the end of your hose. This is probably a little too jagged. It's got some frayed metal on the edge here, and that's probably not going to work. This side was quite a bit flatter, so I was able to go ahead and put this fitting on. So what this looks like is, this is kind of just a cap, if you will, that goes on the end of the hose, and it's threaded on the inside. Don't know if you can see this with the light, but it's got threads on the inside that twist onto the hose that kind of really give it a good seat onto the end of the hose. And this has about 1/8 of an inch of a space before you reach the end of this fitting. So you just put it onto the hose as far as it'll go. So it's it's on there a pretty good ways. So I've already got this part on. The next part is this, which is the actual, it's going to be your actual hose fitting. This is a size 6 female end for the AN fittings, and this just screws right into here. However, you've got to push it with some force to get it into the end of the hose and kind of get it started, and then you tighten it in, and as you tighten it, the further it gets down, the better grip it gets, until you get it on there really good and snug, and then it's not going anywhere. And the nice thing about these is, if I decide to, a few years down the line, swap these out with something else, or, something happens, it gets nicked and I need to replace it, you can reuse these ends. So, you just unscrew this, yank it off, and it's good to go. So I'm going to get this set up in the vise here, and then we'll get this end on. All right, so I've got this end of the hose secured into the vise, and I've put these paper towels on each side to kind of protect the fitting from getting scratched up or scarred. It doesn't really matter. It still would be fully functional, but they're nice and pretty painted, so you want to try and keep them nice if you can. But so these are aluminum, you have to keep in mind. So aluminum is a very soft metal, and it can easily be compromised and damaged. So what I've seen on all the instructionals so far is, you want to take a little oil, just a little lubricant, and just put it on your threads here, just so that when you're putting it into the fitting, it's just going to be the nicest, smoothest contact that you can possibly get. Okay, so you're going to have to put this in here, and the trick is, actually, now that the end is on and there's no steel braided wires poking out, I can take these gloves off, get a little more finesse. So when you're starting this in here, you have to be very careful, because you're putting this end into the hose and also trying to get a thread started at the same time. So you can really easily damage the threads if you're not very careful. So once you feel like it's started, you just want to make sure that it's turning very easily. See, I haven't even been able to get it started just yet. Okay, so there we go. So I'm just turning it, just making sure that it feels right. If you feel like you're having to force it whatsoever, you do not want to continue. So this feels pretty smooth. So I feel pretty good about this. These fittings are pretty expensive, so you do not want to mess one up. And I didn't order any extras, so if I did mess one up, I'd have to wait a couple days to get another one in. Sure don't want to do that. So this is going in very well. You can feel it getting a little tighter and a little tighter, which means that it's really seating into that hose real well. So that's about as far as I can go with my finger. So now, this is an 11/16 wrench, which I found is the best fit. So you want to get all the way down to the lower nut and just start bringing it in real slow and easy. Once you start hitting some real resistance, you want to be very careful. You don't want to over tighten it and strip any threads. So I'm just going real slow. All right, so here we go. Starting to meet my final resistance, I think. Actually, I can see there's a few more threads left to go. It's really starting to get tight. Starting to get towards the end right now. All right, so now I've got metal meeting metal. At this point, you do not want to over tighten. You just want to snug real good, and then we're done. So that gives me a nice female size 6 fitting at the end of this steel braided hose. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have another adapter coming off of the hard lines. That's going to be a size 6 female fitting, and I'll video putting that fitting on. That's going to be tapping directly onto the hard lines coming from the engine bay. So that's going to be a female fitting, and this is a female fitting. So obviously that doesn't work. So I've got a size 6 male adapter here. So that can bring me from a female end here. Now I've got a male end. So this male end goes to the female end of the hardline pipe, and boom, we've got our connection. So that's all there is to it. These are really easy. So we're gonna see how complicated it is to tap the ones onto the fuel lines, and we'll be ready to go.